Okay, Survivor fans, the finale is next week. So I'm here with Matt Noble, and we're going to talk about who we think will win based on the odds at Gold Derby. First of all, how are you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing great. Keen to talk some Survivor and doing better than John was last week.
Ooh. Well, yeah, let's start with poor John. He really thought he was going to win this thing. What did Jacqueline say? Like he envisioned it that he would win. But my girl Natalie took him out.
Yeah, she did. And look, I think, and this is the problem we see on Survivor when people start thinking that they've already won the game and they lose focus of this week's vote and they sort of just get too comfortable where they are. And, you know, we have first season, someone like Richard Hatch who sort of said in the first episode, they're writing out the check for me right now, I've won it. But he still was very much in the game and very aware of each week's vote and where the numbers were and things like that. Whereas John was just assuming he'd get to the end and already starting to put his argument together.
Mm-hmm. The good news is, you know, there might be some wine over there at Ponderosa. So since he's such a wine connoisseur, he's probably in heaven over there right now.
Oh yeah, he's hitting up the wine for sure.
And what do you think about, you know, he went home with an idol in his pocket, and earlier in the season we saw John Rocker do the same. So is there a curse of the Johns in Nicaragua?
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, both Johns got voted out with idols. Yeah, look, that could be the case, and it shows like having an idol's a good thing, but you've also got to be aware of the game. Like, it's not like winning an immunity challenge where you're just safe that week. You don't need to worry about getting voted out. You can just rock up and not have to worry about things. Like, in some ways, if I had an idol on Survivor, I'd be even more worried because I'd be paranoid about playing it at the wrong time or not playing it at the right time. And yeah, like, and I think it like shows like we see just as many people get voted off as Survive with idols in their pockets than we see people saved with idols in the show.
Right. So yeah, I'm looking here at Gold Derby. I have the odds up in front of me for who's going to win, and I just posted an article a couple hours ago. Since I posted it, the odds have changed. So I'm just going to go to the new odds here.
Okay, good.
And so let's just start at the bottom. Who do you think? Do you have it in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, good. So you can be the guesser here. Who do you think is in fifth place to win?
Okay, I'm gonna guess. Well, this is hard because I think Keith's most likely to get voted out next, but I think Baylor's least likely to win. So depends which way. I'm gonna say Keith. I think's what the odds say.
Ooh, not quite. It's Jack.
Okay, what do the odds say? Jacqueline. Oh, okay, she was on the other end of the John vote. Well, I said last week I thought she was the second most likely to win, and
Right.
I still hold to that.
So your personal vote may be different from what we're seeing here at the overall odds.
Of course.
Combined. But okay, so let's try to think. Why would Jacqueline be in last place? I think it's just because, you know, she's clinging on to John. John just got voted out, so people are thinking that she'll just be next.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, our Gold Derby odds said Natalie was most likely to get voted out the week after Jeremy got sent home.
I think so. And I think way back in episode 2, after Naughty went home in the first one, I think people thought Natalie would go home in the second one too. So this is a pattern.
When you see a partner get voted out or someone that's very close to you, assume the next one's up. So I can see why. Look, Jacqueline's on the outs now, and I think there's a good reason to get rid of her next for Keith. Obviously, that's probably who Keith will be voting for next. And I think almost like if Natalie takes Keith to the final four, that could be good for her in that Keith will be the obvious person to vote out next. Like, gives her a bit of insulation from being the next target. So and Keith might stick with Natalie to the end because he seems like probably he's a pretty loyal guy, and she saved him at least 2 weeks now. So he might, even if it's not in his best interest, take Natalie to the end. So I think there's some reasons for Natalie to take Keith, but I still don't think that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I could also see Jacqueline throwing some huge fit back at camp because they blindsided her. She's not the kind of person who would keep this inside, like Natalie did when Jeremy got out. I think she's going to throw a tantrum, and I think that will hurt her.
Yeah. And it's easier to keep it cool when it's just someone you've known for, 15 days, when it's the love of your life that you've just seen stabbed in the back. You're going to be pretty on the warpath. But does that mean they'll get rid of Jacqueline, though? Like, just because she's angry? Like, we're at day 34 or something. Like, you're starting to think, who am I going to beat at the end? And in some ways, an angry Jacqueline is going to seem more appealing to me.
Well, I don't see the trio of Natalie, Baylor, and Missy, I don't see them, betraying each other. So it probably will be Jacqueline or Keith. Whichever one doesn't win the Idol is probably going home first.
Yes. Keith could win immunity. If he doesn't, I think he's in trouble, because I think the perception of everyone out there is Keith is a big immunity challenge threat and even a potential jury threat at the end. And I think people will be gunning for Keith first. I think, though... Yeah, sorry?
I was going to say, I don't remember Keith winning a lot of challenges. I think he won 2, right? But you're right. People always say he's this huge threat. I mean, Natalie won 2 challenges. She won 1 reward and 1 immunity. Or did Keith win more than that? I'm just not remembering.
Keith won 2. He came close to winning another one, which I guess might make people think, oh, look, he almost beat John that week. So, but no, he's only won 2. I think he's definitely being overhyped, but that definitely seems to be a consideration for people on there. Seems to be they're thinking, Keith, he's a challenge threat. And look, if Keith does win the next challenge, then all of a sudden Jacqueline's in a lot of trouble. We know Natalie can't get voted out at Final 5. She's got an idol. She doesn't need to worry like John did about, do I play it this week, do I play it next week? She has to play it at 5. So she will be playing that idol, unless she wins immunity, and then she might give it to someone. But we know Natalie's safe. Natalie's making the Final 4 on Survivor. Right. And, who wins immunity will be very important. And it would have been very interesting if John had given Jacqueline his idol before getting voted out, and Keith won immunity, and then you'd have to have Missy or Baylor get sent home. That would have been cool, but we don't have that. I don't know if another idol's going to be buried.
I doubt it.
I would be surprised, yeah.
Right, because of the fact that Natalie has one, I don't know if the producers would bury another one. But I talked to John about where his idol is he going to take it as a souvenir? And he said he left it in his bag on the island, and I believe Jacqueline had his bag. So the producers went and took it out of the bag. So he does not currently have the idol. He doesn't know where it is. Somewhere one of the producers has it, and hopefully he gets it back at the reunion show next week. That'd be cool.
That would be nice, because usually if you're voted out with an idol, you get to keep the idol.
Yeah.
Usually, like that, that's Tony kept his idol, Kim Spradlin kept her idol, Andrea Belke kept her idol. So you think if they wanted to keep it for themselves, the producers could ask for it back anyway. Like when you're voted out, they go, look, this is our, you're on our show, that's our property, the game's over, you give it back. So hopefully he gets it back. That'd be nice. But yes.
All right. 4th place. Who do you think is in 4th place, for who people at Gold Derby think will win?
Keith?
Missy.
That's okay.
Why do you think that Missy? Is it because she's on 1 foot now and she can't win any challenges? She's basically a lump on a log right now. But let's give her credit.
Could she win a challenge? What's this? Missy can't win a challenge now. Was she winning a whole bunch of challenges with with her 2 legs? Like,
that's true.
Was she gonna win the final 2 immunity challenges? I don't think it's really hurt her that much, her ankle. Like, I'm sure it's hurting her much, but I don't think it's hurting her game much.
I remember there was one challenge where it was like a schoolyard pick or whatever, and she was the one that was not even picked. Yeah.
So I don't think Missy was gonna win a challenge anyway.
But people have quit the game over a lot less, so let's just give her some credit, because it looks like she's in a lot of pain, and that was a really emotional scene to watch when she was crying, Jeff was over her shoulder, and the doctor was there. I thought for sure she was going to be eliminated or forced out of the game.
I don't like to see medevacs. I don't like to see quits. I like to see, because at the end of the day, even if she can't compete in challenges, even if she's getting a bit of medical attention, strategically, she's still playing the game. And that's what I want to see, either Missy win or lose based on strategy and her interpersonal relationship building, rather than like breaking her ankle on a teeter-totter.
Right.
Yeah. So that's good. Here's Missy's problem. Like, I think Missy's can't. Like, it's going to be so hard for Missy to win because I just don't see her getting jury votes over Jacqueline, Keith, or Natalie, and one of those three at least is going to be with her at the end.
Yeah. I really think this is, so far I'm agreeing with the odds. I think Jacqueline has the least chance of winning. And Missy, she's a good player in that she hasn't really hurt anybody, except for John. I think John is kind of pissed right now at Ponderosa. But she's kind of been under the radar this whole time. She hasn't made any decisions. She's let John make all the decisions, or now she's letting Natalie do it. But those kind of people rarely win Survivor, right?
Yeah, and look, I just think people don't particularly like Missy, which is a real problem for her. Like, I think she's played strategically a fairly good game. She's been able to keep on the right side of the numbers the whole way through. She has, to a degree, been in the driving seat of a lot of the decisions. I think, she's had to rely on swing votes like John and Jacqueline at times, but she's been the person whose side they've been going over to, and she was very crucial in keeping John on board for some of those crucial votes. So she's played a good game, Missy, but she hasn't built those relationships with people where she's going to get the jury votes, and people are going to respect her over Natalie at the end.
And third place is
Baylor.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Baylor used to be our pick to win. She was our pick for a long, long, long time. 12 weeks.
She is dead last, in my opinion, now to win this game.
Really?
Yeah. Dead last.
Because if she's at the jury, you don't think she is eloquent enough to speak her case. Is that right?
I don't think she's got jury votes, yeah. I think even if it just was, let's say it's a final two with her and Missy, which it won't be, but a final two, I think Missy beats her. I think Missy's going to get all the credit for their game. Her one shining light is she helped Missy. She was the one who really pushed to get rid of John over Missy. That's her one argument against Missy. But then Natalie was more instrumental than that. So she'd need to not be sitting next to Natalie to make that case. So,
right.
Yeah, I think no one seems to have a lot of love for Baylor on the show. No one seems to respect her. I just can't see her getting more than one jury vote, like maybe two. If her mum's on the jury, maybe she gets 1 and 1 from someone else. But she's not getting more than 2 jury votes. Everyone else in the show, I could see maybe getting half the jury votes.
Yeah. I mean, we know Josh and Reed aren't going to vote for her. Reed called her a brat, and Josh, had this weird alliance with Baylor, even though he voted against her in episode 1, but then she turned on him after the merge.
Yeah.
Who would vote for her? Alec and her have this really strange relationship, like a brother-sister type thing, and maybe he would vote for her if it was
on a good day. Depending on the day, yeah, he could maybe vote for her. Depends who she's in next to, too, though. So she has 2 votes at most if Missy's on the jury. If Missy's not on the jury, 1 vote at most. So she's drawing dead. Yeah. So she, I just can't, I can see how everyone else could win the jury. Missy, I'm on the fence with, but maybe she could make a case.
And actually, I kind of misspoke. Baylor is actually tied for second place with Keith. So they both have 8-1 odds currently. These odds change all the time. Every time someone adds new predictions, the odds change. But as of right now, they are tied. Keith, if he's in the final 3, wow, could he actually win?
If I don't think he can beat Natalie in the final 3. I don't see your Josh and Reed and Jeremy, like your strategic players, not voting for Natalie over Keith. Natalie hasn't even done anything to those 3 individuals to offend them. Like, she didn't stab any of them back. They'll respect her game. She really only needs 2 more votes after that, and I think she'd pick him up, like, over Keith. Like, Keith obviously gets Wes's votes. Alec, let's give him Keith. Like, I could see him going either way, but let's give him Keith's vote. Who else is on the jury? We've got Jeremy would go Natalie. Josh and Reed, I think, would go Natalie.
If John and Jacqueline are on the jury, who do they vote for? Let's pretend Jacqueline voted out.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Jacqueline, and they're picking between Keith and Natalie. I think they'll go Natalie.
Yeah. So you think they will respect her move? Even though it ended John's game?
Yeah, I think John seemed to respect the move when he got voted out. He seemed a good sport about it. I think if he'd be mad at anyone, it'll be Missy, who he had the real close personal connection with. So I think I could see him not voting for Missy because he's bitter, but I don't see any bitterness towards Natalie. So I think she gets John's vote, and then probably Jacqueline's too. And I think Natalie and Keith would be interesting, but I think Keith loses.
Right. So the conclusion is, if Natalie's in the final 3, she's going to win. Everyone should change their vote right now to Natalie.
I think so. Yeah, but if she's in the final 3.
Right. Well, we know she's going to make it to the final 4, because unless she's really, really dumb, she will play the idol just because. Why not?
Yep.
At final 5. And then, could these other people band together and get Natalie out at final 4? I don't see it, because she's made friends with everyone. She saved Keith, so Keith owes her one. Baylor and Missy, they're like sisters, even though one's a mother, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jacqueline's the only one I can really see going against Natalie at this point.
Okay, let's paint the picture. I may have done this last week, but let's paint it again. Final 4. You got Natalie, Missy, Baylor, someone else. Keith or Jacqueline. Keith or Jacqueline wins immunity. What happens?
Right. So you're saying if Keith wins immunity,
are Baylor and Missy going to vote for each other?
No, you're right.
So they both vote Natalie.
Right. Okay.
Natalie is all of a sudden at the mercy of Keith or Jacqueline to stay in the game, to force a tie. So not even to win the vote.
Oh, you're right.
Which could... Yeah.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
And if that happens, Keith or Jacqueline are probably winning Survivor San Juan del Sur.
No. Oh.
Yeah. So, again, and that's why it might be in Natalie's interest to keep Keith, because I could see him forcing the tie more than Jacqueline. I think Jacqueline will go, great, let's get rid of Natalie. I've got this in the bag.
Right.
Whereas Keith might be a little more, well, no, Natalie went into bat for me the last 2 weeks. I'll do her a solid this week. But yeah, that's, I think, now. And look, I think let's say that Natalie, Missy, or Baylor. Well, Missy won't. Let's say Natalie or Baylor win the final immunity challenge. There's still the big question of, will the other 3 realize that Natalie will win if she goes to the end? Will Missy and Baylor realize that their best chance is to go up against someone else?
Do you think that they think that because we haven't seen any evidence that they're thinking that far ahead, that these two are? Natalie's thinking ahead, but the mother-daughter team don't seem to be.
I agree, and I think Missy seems to think that she's running the show, which may or may not be true. I think there's some truth to that. I don't think Missy, I think Missy has done a lot of good moves this season, but I don't think that's what the jury thinks. and I don't think and I think there's a disconnect with Missy's way she views the show and the jury's way of viewing the show. I think maybe Baylor thinks she's made, like, she might think Natalie's move was her move from last week. So, and if you're Natalie, you want them to think that, because then they're going to think they'll beat you at the end.
Right.
So I think she's okay. I think at the moment the penny hasn't dropped for them. I think it probably won't. But with a lot of these people that we've like known, well, they're definitely going to win if they make it to the end. Your Cochran, your Tyson, your Cochran, Tyson, who else do we have? Boston Rob, Kim Spradlin. They all won the last immunity challenge. So they all, like, they all never had to just, like, they could just, like, that final vote was no stress for them. Like, they didn't have to worry about it, that final hurdle, going, oh man, what if Chelsea and Sabrina realize I've got this game won? Or, oh my gosh, what if, like, you know, Dawn and Eddie and Sherry realize that if they take me to the end, I've lost. Like, they don't need, need to worry about that. If Natalie doesn't win the final immunity, she's going to. And boy, God help her if it's that non-Missy Baylor person that wins the final challenge.
Ooh.
I think because I think she's
exciting.
That's exciting, and I think that's the big question. It's at Final Four. Does Natalie lose at the final hurdle, which is getting to that final jury, where I think she probably has the $1 million wrapped up. Right.
And how perfect would that be? Her sister voted out first. Natalie ends up winning. It's the bookend of the Sri Lankan 20s. It couldn't be written more perfectly than that.
Yeah. Now, Missy had a broken ankle, so Keith just was a gentleman as always and walked her to vote for tribal council. Mm-hmm. Do you think while he was walking to her to the urn, he sort of like whispered in her ear, "Stick to the plan"? Do you think like he was like? Oh,
Keith. When I talked to John this week, I asked him to kind of size up the final five, mm-hmm. and he said Keith has blind luck, and I think he's right. I think Keith, he made it to the end, not based on his gameplay, but just based on the fact that he was in the right place at the right time each and every vote. He did have that idol. Yeah. The idol saved him that one time, though.
Yeah. I compared him on Twitter this week to Jack Bauer. He's the Jack Bauer of Survivor. That like he always gets out of these. You think he's just going, and he's like, there's no hope for him, and he always gets out of it alive. But he hurts everyone around him. Right. He like just completely destructive of others, but he seems to scathe through. He seems to get through. He plays an idol to save himself, but gets his son out because of it. He's able to blow up his whole alliance's spot, but still somehow be in the game 3 weeks later. Like it's just, he's a real incredible run, Keith, and he could be one of the most bizarre winners we've ever seen on Survivor. Right. I still think we're more likely to see Jacqueline taken to that Final Four and somehow squeak through. And I think Jacqueline's the most plausible person I can see getting into that Final Three against Missy and Baylor, which is why she's my second pick to win.
Gotcha. Yeah, I disagree with you. I think Jacqueline's out first unless she wins immunity, which has happened many times this season. Someone is on the outs and then they win and they save themselves.
Yeah. So that's a possibility, but no, I think Keith's first to go. I think everyone thinks he's an immunity threat. They'll get rid of him. They're going to go, oh no, he's going to win immunity at Final Four and ruin our dream Final Three, where right. You beat us 9 votes to 0, Natalie. And they're going to get rid of Keith. Then Final Four. If Jacqueline wins immunity, she wins the game. If anyone else wins immunity, Natalie wins the game.
Awesome. Well, I think that is about it for today's Slugfest. The finale is this week, 2 hours, followed by the reunion. This is the 29th season. Still one of the best shows on TV.
I agree. Completely agree.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, bye.